review. Book one, what's all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy to inspire people to use their well-being as their secret weapon to successfully lead to their life, as well as a burnout buster, none other than Miss Chris Vasiliadis.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm thrilled to be here today.
Welcome, Miss Chris. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
I would be happy to. As you said, I call myself a burnout buster. And what that means is I specialize in helping people prevent burnout and how they're running their lives. And that typically looks like working on ways to be more mindful and less stressed and how you're running your day to day. And I work with individuals, I work inside companies, with teams, in a bunch of different settings. And my services include a combination of coaching, consulting, and training. And I do that through my business, Priority Wellness.
Interesting, Miss Chris. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you. And today let's talk about something good, shining bright instead of burning out. So
Mhm.
tell us. We often think about burnout as just a being overworked, but you frame it differently. What is a crucial distinction between being productivity tired and being existentially depleted, and why does it matter?
Yeah, such a great question. The important thing is, are we getting the right things done? And are we doing it in a way and at a pace that is sustainable and doesn't burn ourselves out? I come from a place of strongly believing that success doesn't require chronic exhaustion. It comes from aligning with what matters most and what energizes us the most. So, in my work, I help people realize, yeah, you can still be productive, but are you doing it in a way that A is getting the right stuff done and you're allowing yourself to be fulfilled as you're doing those right things? And also inviting folks to consider that it's not about doing all the time. I often say we're human beings, not human doings. So making sure we weave time in to be. In order for us to be effectively productive, we truly do need periodic times of rest and recovery. We're not robots, we're not designed to be on the go 24/7. So we do need that rest and recovery time built in.
What does shining bright actually look like and feel or feel like practice? It is about constrained high energy or more sustainable state of engagement, purpose, and resilience?
Yeah, it's not, it's a good question. So it's not kind of whirring around like a top all the time. Um, Basically, I view shining bright as being and feeling at your best. So what allows you to do that? That might be giving yourself, you give off this feeling of just having a steady hum and coming from a place of peace within. If we know how to center ourselves and ground ourselves and come from that grounded place, people will sense that sort of energy from us. There's a saying, air is louder than words. People sense your vibe, whether you're in person, whether you're online, whether you're sending email or texts. There's an energy that comes through that. And human beings sense that energy first. So being conscious of that and having awareness of what we're giving off energy wise, but also taking ownership for that and taking responsibility for that. Okay, what's the energy I want to bring to this next conversation, to this next meeting, to this meal I'm about to have with my family, whatever it might be. Um, so it's kind of all it, shining bright is very personal. I feel a personal decision, but it's just it. The core of it is how am I feeling and looking when I'm functioning at my best.
Interesting, Miss Chris. For high achievers, their worth is often tied to their output. How does
Mm-hmm.
identify performance link become primarily fuel for burnout, and how do we begin to disentangle it?
Yeah, a lot of folks do get identity from their work. I have been one of those people in the past. I call myself a recovering type A personality. And I think it's coming to a realization that we are bigger than our work, we are bigger than our output. That is a fraction of our lives. And there's a much larger wholeness to each of us, and it's making sure we bring the wholeness and the richness of us forward. So I'm not downplaying the achievements that we make in our work and using the talents that we have to produce things that are good quality, but let's not do it at the expense of our health and well-being. um, if I may, what led me to feeling so strongly about this is what led me to my work. 3 years before I started my practice, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which is a chronic disease of the central nervous system. That caused a whole bunch of lifestyle changes for me personally. Health and wellness became much more important to me, so much so that I wanted to help other people create their ideal state of health and well being. So before I even changed careers, I went through a period of the time between my diagnosis and the time between starting Priority Wellness of me kind of readjusting how I function. The few months after my diagnosis, I needed a nap every day to function. So it was um, recognizing that and allowing that and not trying to fight through it, really honoring what my body needed. And now I feel I've taken that to a different level in this work is you don't need to have a chronic illness to take care of your well-being. In fact, it can be a good preventative measure to address your well-being, but not have it be something you'll get to someday, but find a way to weave it in to your everyday living. It's kind of like maintaining your automobile or vehicle. If you wait to do the routine maintenance on it, your vehicle's not going to run well or not run at all. And it's the same thing with us as human beings. We need to give ourselves the periodic maintenance and ongoing maintenance that helps us run at our best.
Very well said, Miss Chris. Very well said. So the grind culture lie.
Mm.
What is the most pervasive and toxic myth that hustle culture sells us directly leads to burnout, and what is the more empowering truth we can replace it with?
Oof, that is such a big question, Daniel. And I don't know that I have the complete answer to that, but it's coming from a place of a people first philosophy, and making sure that in order for people to produce effectively, they need to be fueled effectively. And the grind is not a sustainable way of doing that for the long term. So to be in work environments and work for leaders who believe that philosophy and truly build that into the culture of the company and the organization and walk the talk, not only walk the talk, model the talk, and have other leaders throughout the organization that model that talk. And that could be as simple as when it's lunchtime, you do actually take a lunch break. You go move away from your desk and have lunch, or you get outside. When you have earned vacation time, you actually take it and you do things like that. You might find out about other people's lives outside of work. What things bring them joy? What did they do this weekend? Um, did they live with a roommate or family members? And how do they like to spend their time outside? What other interests do they have? So again, it goes back to what I said earlier of like people just aren't their work. They are much bigger than that. And seeing a whole person values, in my mind, values that person more and shows that you're seeing them more as a human being and addressing what will best support them.
The nervous system blueprint, Miss Chris. How is chronic burnout a symptom of a what's a deregulated nervous system stuck in a constant state of fight or flight? What are the only physical warning signs people often ignore?
Great question. Um, Signs that you might be in or approaching burnout. So, probably would be most helpful if I give the definition of what burnout is. It falls
Mm-hmm.
into three different categories. The first category is a sense of feeling depleted emotionally, physically, mentally. The second category is having feelings of cynicism or um, almost starting to check out a little bit. And then the third symptom is feelings of ineffectiveness or incompetence. None of these happen overnight. So it's not like you had a bad day and like, oh, I'm burnt out. It doesn't happen that way. It builds up over time. And so you might have any one of those symptoms feeling depleted, um, expressing more cynicism, having a shorter fuse, um, and not feeling like you're effective in your work. Um, how other symptoms might look like are like forgetting things and anything from people's names to where you put your keys to missing a deadline where you're normally on top of things like that. Overeating or undereating or skipping meals when that's not normal for you. I mentioned having a shorter fuse earlier. Often, other people close to us will see those sorts of changes before we do. So, whether it's a friend or family member might notice something, or a coworker might notice something. Um, they will likely, because again, it happens over time and it doesn't happen overnight. So those are some of the things to be aware of. It's basically starting to function in ways that are not positive, that are typically not your normal way of functioning.
Miss Chris, how can the very passion that drives us to do great work also become the thing that blind us to our own limits and lead us to burnout?
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with doing great work and working hard. And it's getting to that place of it being aware of when it comes at the extreme and the expense of our health and well-being. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have certain times at work where you might have crunch time for a certain deadline or something to hit that might require some extra hours. But if that's for a temporary period of time, okay. But we just can't handle that sort of uh, pace on an ongoing basis. So again, we can still be productive, get good things done, but figuring out how we weave in how we need to be fueled to function at that level. So fuel could look like I view things in different energy buckets: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. You could even put social in there too. And how what we need to effectively do things. And that could be anything from how we start our day, which could look like having a healthy breakfast. It could be reading something inspirational or listening to an inspirational podcast. It could be doing some stretches, doing some form of movement. How we start our day, what works for us is going to be different for everybody. But I would challenge the folks who are listening to this to ask yourself, well, how, what way to start your day sets you off on feeling like I'm on the right foot and I feel like I can take on the day.
Miss
Doing,
Chris,
yeah.
as a burnout buster, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My long term goal is to create more role models of folks who are operating in ways that give them a more fulfilling life and good, consistent, positive energy. Those are my long term goals. My short term goals are, I would say, pretty evergreen. I always love connecting and interacting with folks who like to discuss these sorts of subjects. Whether or not they want to hire me, I just love hearing about what's real and true for people, what they're challenged with at this time, and what's getting in their way of creating a sustainable pace, and what's possible as a next step.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Chris, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
Oh, don't try to be like me. Be like yourself. be like be like the best version of you. I mean, I've figured out what works for me, and what I love about my job is trying to help others figure out what the right combination of things it works for them in their current season of their life to create sustainable well-being. Um, in general, I we usually suggest that people start with, if you feel like you have no breathing space, that could be a place to start. Like looking at your calendar, whatever your calendar of choice is, whether it's electronic, paper, what have you, open up that calendar and see how much white space you have. And if you don't have a lot of white space, then work at creating some breathing room. And that might be integrating a 5 minute break in the afternoon. If you don't currently take a lunch break, take a lunch break. If you don't currently have something in the morning, if your current morning is rolling out of bed, looking at your phone and starting to scroll, maybe take a 10 deep breaths before you pick up your phone for the day, or do 10 stretches. Um, Start doing small things that help to center and ground you, and that would be an easy place to begin. Um, I would quickly add another place to begin, given we're doing this, it's November 14th, so we're right at the beginning of what's considered holiday season. Think of what brings you joy. And again, that could be simple things. It could be a cup of hot tea, it could be connecting with a friend. Make sure you have those sorts of joys also woven in, not like, oh, I'll get to that to another day, or oh, I'll get to that. My dream is having people who, when they create their calendars, you plug in the joyful things first and the things that fuel you first, and then build everything else around that, because that's what's going to help sustain you.
Yes, definitely. And thank you for that advice, Miss Chris. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence you, Johnny?
So I'm a huge book junkie. I've been a book junkie since I was a child. Um, a book that I'm going to share two that initially influenced. Can I share three? I'm going to share two that initially influenced me in my work, and then one that came along a little bit afterwards. But the two that initially influenced me, the main one was, it's called The Power of Full Engagement by Tony Schwartz um, and Jim Lohr. Um, that goes into the whole principles of having these different aspects of energy: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And which was really new for me 20 plus years ago. So that was one. Another one is A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, which basically talks about, it's mainly a book about awareness and where our ego gets in our own way and how we can be more present. It is not a book that I would recommend trying to read cover to cover in one sitting. It's a book meant to be slowly digested. And then I'll throw the third one in as a bonus. Um, several years into my business, I discovered the book Essentialism um, by, oh my God, I'm spacing on his name now. Sorry, Greg McKeown.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a great book. He's a great person to follow on LinkedIn too. The basic principle is on, I believe I mentioned this almost at the beginning of our discussion, on focusing on getting the right things done rather than trying to do everything.
Well, thank you for that recommended books, Miss Chris. And before we wrap our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101, love letters. Movie 101 review, music 101 are in fourth season, science 101 and sex 101 in its second season, and my baby podcast, Low 101, Mental Health and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Chris, the first glimmer of light for someone listening who feels deep in the grips of burnout can even imagine sharing bright. What was your message of hope and the very step they can do?
You are already shining bright from within, and you might just need to rediscover that. And it can be as simple as stopping, pressing the pause button, slowing down, and being still.
Hmm. Being still. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Chris. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your coaching, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Sure. And thank you for showing my website on this broadcast. So, yeah, one place to find out more is my website, which is prioritywellness.com. And I'm also pretty active on LinkedIn. So, online wise, those are the two ways to follow me some more.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Chris Vasiliadis, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Miss Chris, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Danielle. It was a pleasure.
Likewise, more to come, people. See you soon.